观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎收看本期的专题报道。即将到来的伦敦市长大选已经进入白热化阶段，自候选人roger退出之后，形成三足鼎立的局面，也使选战结果变化扑朔迷离。各参选人陆续开展活动，为争取到更多的选票不断奔走。本周17日，候选人三强matt、cheng 和 swan走进伦敦华人社区，针对华人代表所提出的问题进行答辩。三位候选人唇枪舌战，激烈交锋。下面请看详细报道。当地时间10月17日，伦敦市长候选人 matt、Joyce Wong 和华裔候选人 cheng 应邀参加了由伦敦商业交流中心主办的华社答辩会。三位代表陆续抵达 Aroma 餐厅后，与在场华人代表寒暄交流，互换意见，现场气氛热烈且高涨。此次答辩会涉及吸引新移民、提高伦敦竞争力，以及增加华社老年服务等相关问题。三位候选人在规定的时间内依次发表看法，并提出应对方案。
We need to make sure we're building our city so that it's age-friendly. Whether you're 8 years old or 80, that there's a place for you in this community. A big part of that is making sure that we have accommodation and housing that's specifically for our senior populations and that is welcoming to all communities, including your community.
In 2017 is Canada's birthday, our 150th anniversary. I have been working with the federal and provincial representatives to seek out the budgets to construct a residential senior home for the multicultural community. I'm pleased to announce that a private sector landowner has dedicated 5 acres of land to make this dream a reality. And from the multicultural perspective, I think we need to look at a shared accommodation because there may not be enough seniors in any one community to make the business model work. So it may look like one floor is 100 people from the Chinese community and maybe 100 people from a different community.
I think the question is, how can we treat the senior citizens with better accommodation, a better lifestyle? We as a community want is, how can we involve the younger generation with the seniors? Because right now, we're treating them in a separate compartment. They're old, they're not productive anymore, so we put them aside, we don't want to talk to them anymore. We just want to know they're comfortable, they're fed. I think the family, they value their grandparents, their great-grandparents. So I think what we want is a newer model where we're more involved with the older folks. I agree, and I think Joe is very good, that we have a dedicated piece of land, but the land and the building must be done right for the right purpose, to give grandparents, parents, and children, grandchildren, a place to come and meet and interact so grandparents can see the continuation of generation. The world is busy. And I want London to be modern, I want London to be cosmopolitan. We've been asleep for the last 20 years. I want London to understand we're not just here isolated. We are now competing against a global market. Many people here in London, who are the old line people, never even understand what is a global competition because they've never seen it. They see people here, this is their world. Woodstock, Sarnia, that's it. No. You folks here know it is a globally competitive market, and we have to compete manufacturing, intelligence, in every standard. It's got to be to a global standard. We have to build our kids up with world-class education. 1 in 5 kids in London do not have a high school education. That is never brought up in council by any of the councillors, by any of the candidates. Why? We can do better. To build London for a world-class future, not just for you, not just for me for the next election, but for the future generations. We must build the foundation, and the kids are the key. Last part, City Hall is not known to be anti-business or business unfriendly. It didn't develop overnight. That reputation was festered over say 10, 20 years. We developed a reputation as business unfriendly. And as mayor, I want to change that.
In working with business, time is money. Time is money. And each time you have to deal with the government regulation, it costs you money because of the time involved in getting the regulations approved. We have a new plan coming forward. It's called the London Plan, official plan. And in the official plan, we're going to reduce the amount of regulation for business, to simplify it. So that when you're trying to open a commercial enterprise or a new business, it is a simpler, easier process. Number two, my promise is about taxes. Taxes cost you money on your business. High taxes kills jobs. High taxes kills investment. My promise is no more than 1%, no more than 1% new taxes on average each year for the next 4. Number three, I want to attract international investment to London. We have wonderful opportunities in London here in residential, in real estate, commercial land. We have opportunities in the healthcare to take products to market. We have a wonderful relationship with Nanjing. For small business, I am introducing a new program worth $10 million to help small business to grow in London. It will help with joint venture capital, it will help with training programs, and it will help keep your business growing in London, Ontario.
This is one of the fundamentally most important questions that's been asked today, because this is how we will ensure that our community is strong today and it's stronger tomorrow. If one of these businesses wants to open, if one of these businesses wants to grow, our processes within City Hall need to be set up so that they can move through the process as quickly as possible, so that they're supported every step of the way, so they can get on with their business, with providing services, with employing people. That's fundamental. The second piece is that we need to recognize that we have significant strengths in this community, whether that be medical innovation, whether that be through our agri-food, which is very important, whether that be through advanced manufacturing, or whether that be through our digital industries. These are key areas that differentiate us from other communities. And we need to focus on those, and we need to make sure that we're providing the right levels of investment and attention. From an industrial land strategy perspective, we're critically low on land. We need to follow through with our investments to make sure that we have large parcels of land close to the 401, 402, 403 corridor, serviced and ready to go for when those investors come from across the country, from around the world, and want to invest in this community, that we're ready for them. We have 100 million people living within a 24-hour drive of London, so we're uniquely positioned for this. Now, what about savings? I point to my record as chair of the audit committee. I've worked with my council colleagues, I've worked with staff, and I've worked with our boards and commissions to bring in an outsourced auditor to find millions in savings and efficiencies over a many-year period, over a 5-year period. We've focused on our boards and commissions because that's where the pressure is on our budget. 4.4% increases on average over a 4-year period. That by definition is unsustainable. They're now working with that outsourced auditor to find those savings and efficiencies. The fact of the matter is, we have a negative population growth right across this country. And so our entire society depends on immigration so that we can grow and we can thrive. Right now, London is seeing almost as many immigrants leave the community as arrive in the community. And what that does is it doesn't give us that economic engine that's created through the opposite of that. Certainly, we need to work with our federal partners and make sure that everyone knows this is a place to be, this is a place where you're welcome, and this is a place that's set up to be a comfortable place to live. But what do we need to do for that? We absolutely, fundamentally need jobs. That's the key. And we need more programs that identify for newcomers to this community.
Number one is newcomer welcoming services. Often when you come to a new country, you have lots to learn. If English is not your first language, it's critically important that we provide support services. You must have affordable housing. Our community education programs must then also be open and accessible. So community support services is first. The second, I believe, is that London needs to open our education, our higher education institutions to attract more people to London. London must work with the business community, the Asian business community, or the Latino community, and so on. We must attract investment to London to create jobs. Because even if we have good community services, affordable housing, quality education, at the end of the day, without a job, you're leaving London. So together, no matter who is the mayor, together we must have this vision that's about job creation. So
The question was, how can we ensure newcomers get the fair share of the prosperity? By not recognizing that City Hall is part of the problem, the resistance to change, the resistance to new business, we will never have a plan, no matter how many times you study it. London will not get the point that we are business friendly. If you listen to the other candidates, the first thing they say is we will have a program. How many more programs do we need? What have they done for the last 4 years? Why did they start those programs from day one? When we had the highest unemployment rate in the city, in the country, where were those programs then? So the problem, number one, is council. You have to get business-friendly mayor, councillors in to run. It doesn't, the councillors do not have to be business people, but they have to understand business. They can be social, they can be charitable, they can be any walks of life, but those folks must all have that understanding that we do need business to make London thrive. And that's the only way we can welcome the newcomers, is to make sure the leadership inside City Hall is business friendly first. Thank you.
thank you.
My mom visits an acupuncturist every 2 weeks on Oxford by Richmond. So I know, I take her there sometimes, and it is a facet of medicine that is not fully explored. You bet. I am all in favor of exploring more. If that's going to bring more business to London, so be it. I'm more than welcome it. But I would like the traditional medicine to be more involved with Western medicine also, so that we have a collaboration and a better understanding of how some things work. I don't think we have all the answers. So by exploring traditional medicine such as acupuncture, I think it'll just bring a lot more benefit to London. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I would be very supportive. I think it's important we understand that London, Ontario has an international reputation in healthcare research. I think it's very important when you change government regulations that it is often based on knowledge and research. Impacts how regulations are set through healthcare standards. So London is a leader in healthcare research within the region and internationally, and I'm quite confident as mayor we could establish such an exciting new chair to advance the collaboration and healthcare outcomes through traditional and modern medicine. It would be a wonderful development in London.
My father-in-law is a retired chiropractor, and I've learned a great deal from him over the years about the difference between the medical model and the holistic wellness model. And there are synergies there I know to be true. And of course we need to continue to study. We need to continue to learn. That's the essence of being a human being. But we can't divide one or the other. And there are huge opportunities here. When it comes to things like acupuncture, more to learn, but it's our responsibility to set an environment where those conversations can occur. So I would be absolutely supportive of that. Thank you. And you're absolutely right that these young people need a safe way home. I've had the opportunity to establish strong relationships with both the administrations from Fanshawe and from Western, and with their student leaders from both Fanshawe and Western, to find solutions to problems exactly like this. The University Students' Council at Western has tried some pilot projects involving a series of hired buses, for example, to alleviate the issue as well.
I think it's a collaboration between the university and the London Transit Commission. We have to put the right buses in the right place. Where there's a demand, this is where the buses should go. Too many buses are going around our neighborhoods empty, and yet when you actually need them, they're not available. So I think it's just the Richmond Road Business Association identifying when are the buses needed, how many buses, and what's the cost. And then the city can make their contribution. I think the university would be open to make their contribution.
I'm a businessman, pretending to be a politician. So, as a businessman, I see a business opportunity. Set up little cubicle hotels like they do in Japan. Rent it out for $20 for 6 hours. The students can sleep it off and get on the bus in 6 days. I said, as a politician, I would say, I will give more policies and I will think more about it. But as you said, 2 o'clock, if we need more buses where they're needed, let's just do it. Thank you.
Thanks.
答辩会后，3位市长候选人依次接受红枫林采访，希望能获得伦敦各界华人民众的支持。
Well, there are 2 parts that I can play. One is anytime you deal with the government, time is money. So we want to make sure that we don't take up too much time of small business when you get your business permits, when you have to get the health unit to come. These things cost you money. So we have to do that in a very efficient way. And the second part really is about taxes. I want to keep the cost of your taxes as low as possible, only 1%. The business is struggling enough now. You don't need any more taxes or any special fees. So I think this is the most important part.
cheng 表示，如果大选获胜，他要做的第一件事就是把自己的工资减半。
As I said, my first order as mayor is to cut the mayor's wage in half, because our unemployment rate is worse than the provincial average at any one time. When that happens, the mayor must have skin in the game. I want him to feel the pain of the people. When there's unemployment, high unemployment, I want the mayor and council to know how people suffer. So I want them to feel the pain of the people. Right now, there's no skin in the game. If there's high unemployment, they get paid full price. And I think that has to stop.
You know, October 27th is just around the corner. There are very few days before Election Day. It's so important that everyone in the community get out to vote, to practice your democratic right and vote. We are shaping our future by way of the election. I'd like to build a better future, not just for us, but for our children and our grandchildren.
I think it was fantastic. I think the candidates did a wonderful job. They spoke specific to the issues that will affect the Chinese community in London. They talked about the future, bringing more people to London. They talked about interesting things such as alternative medicine to the city of London. They talked about how they're going to embrace the seniors, and those are very important to us.
感谢收看本期的枫林专题报道，我们下期再见。